My full name is Linus Julie.
Guido William Roberts.
Hoy soy Ernesto Young Choi.
My name is Stefan Abdo.
I'm Catalina Carafo.
Both my parents were born in Albania.
My dad is from Birmingham in England, and my mum is originally from Genova in Italy.
Well, my parents were ethnically from Korea, but they moved to, well, my dad was in Honduras before I was born.
Yeah, both of my parents are from Argentina, but my mom, his grandfather were like Spanish.
My dad is Palestinian, so that's where he grew up, and my mom is Mexican.
I was actually born in Belgium in a place called Leuven, and I lived there my whole life pretty much. I grew up there.
I've grown up in many different countries. I was born in Albania. I lived there for 2 years. Then my dad won a Fulbright, so we moved to Washington, D.C., stayed there for 5-6 years. Then 2 years in the north of Italy. Varese is close to Milan. I lived 6 months in the south of Italy, Bari. 4.5 years in Vancouver. And then I did 8 years in the south of Italy again. And now I'm studying in Vancouver.
So then when I was like 9, my family decided to move to Spain because in Argentina was this big crisis, economic crisis. So my family decided like to look for a better future in Europe.
So usually people always assume that, you know, military family or something like that, but it's actually a lot more mundane than that. I was originally born in Germany, and I lived there for 5 years, moved to France, lived there for 7 years, and then I moved to San Diego, where I've kind of lived for like the last 12 or so years.
I think I look most like my mom because I have green eyes and brown hair just like her.
Personality-wise, my mom, and like physical-wise, my dad. And we have like the same height.
I would probably say my mom's side because I understand Spanish, whereas I don't speak a word of Arabic. So it's easier for me to be able to, you know, understand the culture and everything.
If I'm in an English-speaking place, I think in English. Otherwise, if I'm in Italy, sometimes I'll think in Italian.
I'd say my core language is English because that's the one I'm doing my university in. If I'm studying literature or philosophy, I'll most likely think in Italian or French. If I'm talking or formulating, for example, folklore thoughts, that'll be in Albanian. When I go to Spanish-speaking countries, I start thinking in Spanish.
When I dream, it's weird because everybody speaks the language that they speak. Like, so for me, like, if I dream with someone of France, like they were there speaking in French, so I cannot imagine my friend when I dream like someone like I met like in France and they were speaking with me always in French. So it's like they don't talk in Spanish.
Again, depends what my dreams are, but usually in English, but sometimes in Italian, maybe French.
Yeah, like if I'm like, for example, in my dream, I'm watching a Korean drama, like I wouldn't be thinking in Spanish, right?
People will ask me where you're from, and I'll have to go on this whole story. I say born in Belgium, but half English, half Italian.
I have to start explaining, well, where am I from? Like, where am I from? Like, do you mean like where I was raised, or like where my parents are from? Because those are two completely different things.
And I wouldn't know where to answer exactly I was from, because I was born in one place, and I grew up in two completely different ones.
Well, the ethnicity is like really like limited in Honduras because there's not many foreigners. So like especially like there's no Asian at all. So I was the only Asian in my like entire city, and like all my friends are locals. Like if I go out and I see like people who don't know and they're like always asking like where are you from, like how do you speak Spanish so well, and they're like okay I am from here, like I know I grew up here, I'm Honduran, and they'll be really confused.
I think in France, when I moved to France, I was still fairly young, so it was very easy at that age to make friends. But moving to the U.S., that was a lot harder, especially because I moved in middle school, like when you're 12 or something like that. It's always kind of like an awkward age, like around that time. And so there was a lot of culture shock. I mean, I gotten to know like all my friends, and the thing is that like I spoke the language when I moved to the U.S., but things were so different in San Diego, so it took me about like really like a year or so, you know, to get comfortable.
Growing up, I had to really adjust to many school systems. I had to suddenly learn Italian in 3rd grade because I had to go to public school. There were no English schools, so having to constantly change school system from international school system to North American to small Italian school, that was tough.
When I was little, I didn't want to move to Spain. I was like, no, why am I going to move to Spain? Like, I want to stay here with my friends. And then I went to Spain, and I always thought, you know, I was born in Argentina, so I'm from Argentina. So I was really like, I'm from Argentina, no? I don't have anything to do with Spain. Then I came back to Spain and I realized that all my friends were like, people were asking, where are you from? You have a different accent. It's like, I was like, oh, I have a mixed accent. It's like, okay. So they say, where are you from? It's like, I'm from here. Like, I was from here. It's like, but where have you been like the past 5 years? No, I've been in Spain. And then like, I go back to Spain. I was like, okay, so maybe, I don't know, because like in Spain they were saying, where are you from? Because your accent is weird. So it's like, at the end you don't know where are you from.
I've always enjoyed the process of moving though. It's always presented like its own like unique challenges, but I always enjoy experiencing something completely different like that.
Having, you know, different backgrounds definitely helps. You get used to different cultures, and meeting people just becomes easier, I guess.
You learn to be more tolerant, you learn like to share more. You also learn how to communicate.
This is knowing how people think, and the things you don't say, that's how you understand people, so it's helped me so much.
So I find myself being more patient than definitely some of my other friends towards people who are not from here. In terms of settling, that's actually like a question I ask myself a lot. I think in the long term, I would probably want to move somewhere outside of the US, because I feel like since my parents gave me all these different opportunities to experience all these different cultures, you know, like later on down the line when I have my own family, I'd probably want to give my kids the same experience. So, you know, I probably want to move, you know, to Europe, you know, something like that. So yeah, I would say I'd probably want to move again later on.
I can't see my future. Like it's like I could be anywhere. You know, like I could be in Africa, like helping like poor people. Because like I want to be a doctor, and it's gonna be like take 12 years here in the United States. So that's a long time. Like a lot of things could change.
I'm pretty sure I want to live in Europe. I've traveled a lot, and while I love being in San Diego and I've loved other places, I think the place that fits me most is Europe. It's the place where I can most find a balance between social interaction and culture and architecture, and just a big balance between everything that I find really fascinating on a daily basis. Because I think that's kind of different from American life. There are these amazing museums and there's this amazing nature, but on a day-to-day life you don't really interact with them.
Not in England, possibly Italy, maybe somewhere else in Europe, or even in the States or South America. I really don't know. It depends where I can find a job and what appeals to me, really.
I wonder like a lot of times how I would be like now if I was, let's say, in Argentina. I won't probably be here. I wonder how it would be different, like what I would be doing if I would marry. Like a lot of my friends in Argentina, they're already married, having babies. Yeah, maybe. I think when you start traveling, like in general, like people get this addiction, like I'm going to start traveling. Like it's like, they say that it's like when you get a tattoo, it's like you do one and then you have to like, you want to do like 5, like you cannot stop. So I think with traveling is the same. So you start traveling and you cannot stop.
I think if I didn't grow up the way I did, I would not be how I am today. I would not be so open to so many cultures, because in the end I was born in a pretty small conservative country. So if I hadn't traveled and seen so much from every spectrum, I for sure would not have been the type of person I am today. Not just from actually moving, but from my trips as well.
A lot of time people ask me, so you were born like between 2 cultures, which one do you prefer? And I always respond that I don't have to choose one. So it's like, because I get the best thing of both of the cultures, so I don't have to like feel one of the or other.
I can't choose one or the other. I love both. That's usually the way it goes.
Identity is kind of like a funny thing. I mean, it's kind of like a natural like human impulse to always want to like identify yourself with like a particular group. Usually what I just do at this point is that I kind of like forget trying to lump myself like in a particular group and just kind of embrace the fact that I guess I'm just varied, and so by extension I don't particularly associate with like a particular group. I just kind of hang out with everybody.
A, B, C,
D, E, F, G,
H, O, G, K, L, M, N, O, P,
Q, R, S, T, V, U.
I'm not going to keep going. I'm not going to do the whole one.
W, X, Y, and Z. Right?
Little brother came and he said like, oh, I came I came from the shop, I buy two chess, and my mom looked at him, what do you buy, what? She thought he was buying drugs, and he was buying just like sweet things, you know. Or...
Say thank you in Albanian means faleminderit, and that means I am pardoning you the debt you owe me.